Hey everyone, this is Six-Path Weeb. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a brand new what-if scenario that explores an alternate path in the Naruto universe, one that changes identity, loyalty, and instinct itself. Our topic for today. What if Naruko joined the Inuzuka clan as a wolf? We'll explore how this twist would affect her upbringing, fighting style, bonds, and destiny within the shinobi world, and how being raised among the Inuzuka might reshape her personality and power. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now that everything's set, let's get started. It was an unusually cold day in Konoha, and even across the Land of Fire. For the first time in over 100 years, soft white snow drifted down in the middle of August. The tall trees wore frosty coats, their leaves resting gently on the ground, while small forest animals tucked themselves into cozy hiding spots to stay warm. Deep in the forest, a small family of wolves huddled together beneath a wide pine tree. The mother wolf was very tired from leading her pups through the cold, and she lay down to rest. The pups pressed close to her, nuzzling her softly and sharing their warmth. They believed, with the simple faith of young hearts, that staying together would make everything better. At the very same time, something similar, quiet, lonely, and hopeful, was happening inside the Hidden Leaf village. 5-year-old Naruko Uzumaki ran through the snowy streets, her breath puffing out like little clouds. She wasn't running because she was in danger. She was running to escape the heavy stares and unkind looks that followed her almost everywhere she went. Naruko didn't understand why people looked at her that way. She had never tried to hurt anyone. All she wanted was to belong. Still, she wasn't completely alone. She counted her precious people on her small hand as she ran. The kind old man Hokage, who always smiled at her, old man Tucci, who made the warmest meals, Ayame-chan, who talked to her like she mattered, the Inuzuka clan, who treated her fairly and kindly, and the friendly owner of the Dragon's Den shop, who always made sure her coat fit just right. That was enough. Or at least, she told herself it was. Naruko headed toward the east gate of the village, which she had discovered was usually the quietest. When it came into view, she noticed something surprising: no guards at all. Snowflakes settled gently in her bright hair as she paused, then smiled softly. A little walk will help, she whispered to herself. She stepped into the forest, letting the peaceful hush of falling snow calm her thoughts. The trees seemed to listen without judging. As she walked, Naruko noticed a familiar scent, not anything scary, just the clean smell of pine, snow, and animals nearby. Her footsteps slowed. Somewhere close, something needed comfort. Naruko didn't know it yet, but her kind heart was about to change more than just her own lonely day. And in that quiet, snowy forest, warmth was about to be shared. Naruko and the Moonflower Wolves. Naruko picked up her pace as a soft scent drifted through the snowy air. It reminded her of warm fur and pine trees, and it tugged gently at her curiosity. Soon, she heard faint whimpers coming from behind a cluster of winter-tough bushes. Maybe someone needs help, she whispered, already moving forward. Carefully parting the branches, Naruko stepped into a quiet clearing. There, she met a pair of glowing golden eyes, not fierce, but wise and tired. A large wolf lay resting beneath the pale winter sky, her breathing slow but calm. Around her were 4 small wolf pups, pressed close together for warmth. Naruko didn't feel afraid. Instead, she felt something else: understanding. The wolf's eyes held many feelings: love, hope, and a deep wish to see her pups grow strong and happy. Naruko knelt slowly, keeping her movements gentle and respectful. The pups watched closely, unsure at first, but their mother gave a soft, reassuring sound that told them all was well. "You have a kind heart, child," the wolf said softly, her voice calm and warm like moonlight. Naruko blinked in surprise, but only for a moment. She had heard animals speak before, and she trusted moments like this. "My name is Naruko Uzumaki," she replied politely. "I want to help." The wolf smiled. "I am called Moonflower, which means moonflower. I cannot travel much longer, but my pups still have many adventures ahead of them. I was hoping you might walk beside them." Naruko's eyes sparkled with determination. "I promise I'll take care of them. I'll teach them kindness, courage, and how to look after one another." Moonflower nodded, relieved. She gently touched Naruko's hand with her nose, sharing a soft glow of light. It wasn't painful or frightening, just warm and comforting, like a friendly hug. "This is a gift," Moonflower explained. You will be able to understand wolves and dogs as friends, and they will always recognize your good heart. Naruko felt lighter, as if the forest itself welcomed her. The pups slowly padded forward, curious now. Naruko smiled and sat down so she was at their level. We're equals, she told them kindly. No one needs to bow. Families stand together. The pups wagged their tails, clearly agreeing. Together with Munfurawa, Naruko chose names for them. Odorakage, a playful pup with dark fur like dancing shadows. Senko, a bright and gentle pup who shimmered like sunlight. Misujuashi, calm and clever, with mist-colored paws. Shomiai, lively and quick, with markings like a flash of light. As the moon rose higher, Munfurawa rested peacefully, surrounded by her pups and Naruko. Her voice was soft but sure. Be loyal, be brave, and be kind. You are never alone. The forest grew quiet and peaceful, as if listening. Naruko stayed with the pups, her heart full. She knew this was the beginning of something special, not just a pack, but a family built on trust, care, and hope. And beneath the gentle moonlight, Naruko smiled, ready to grow alongside her new friends. Naruko and the Call of the Wolves. A long, echoing howl drifted through the forest, rising and falling like a sad song carried on the wind. The sound continued for nearly an hour before slowly fading away. When it finally ended, the forest felt unusually quiet, as if it were holding its breath. At the edge of the village, Sume, the head of the Inuzuka clan, stood among her companions and their loyal dogs. The animals were restless, their ears twitching and tails low. No one spoke at first. Even the air felt heavy. Sume knelt beside Kuromaru and placed a gentle hand on his head. Kuromaru-kun, she asked softly, what is troubling everyone so deeply? Kuromaru lifted his head, his eyes calm but serious. A powerful mother wolf from the northern lands has passed on peacefully, he explained. Her spirit was important to many wolves, and her pups are calling out in sorrow. The wolves see themselves as guardians of the wild, and we dogs answered their call by sharing in their mourning. Sume listened carefully as Kuromaru continued. The wolves will be uneasy for a while. They will be cautious of strangers, but they trust our clan. It would be wise to let the Hokage know so everyone can stay safe and respectful of the forest. Understanding the importance of this message, Sume quickly asked Kobo and his partner to inform the Hokage. She also shared a simple warning: anyone not familiar with the forest should stay close to the village walls until the wolves felt calm again. With that settled, Sume and several clan members followed Kuromaru into the woods to learn more about what had happened. A surprising meeting. Elsewhere in the forest, young Naruko was walking back toward the village. She was accompanied by 4 fluffy wolf pups, Odorakage, Senko, Misujuashi, and Shomiai. They padded along happily at her sides, alert but peaceful. Suddenly, the pups formed a small circle around Naruko, standing protectively. They did not snarl or threaten, only watched carefully. Moments later, Sume and several wolfhounds emerged from the trees. Everyone froze in surprise. The older animals tilted their heads, curious about the pups who stood so confidently without fear. One of the wolfhounds let out a sharp bark of confusion, wondering why the pups were not showing respect. Before anyone could react, Naruko stepped forward. My pack stands together, Naruko said clearly, her voice steady despite her young age. We honor kindness and courage above all else. Something gentle but powerful seemed to ripple through the air, not frightening, just strong. Kuromaru and the other dogs recognized it instantly and bowed their heads respectfully. Sume's eyes widened in amazement. Naruko? Sume said in disbelief. Is that really you? Naruko smiled sheepishly. Hi, Sume-chan. It's a long story. A new beginning. After sitting together and talking for quite a while, Sume finally nodded with understanding. She could see Naruko's sincerity and the deep bond she shared with the wolves. Naruko, Sume said warmly, you have shown great responsibility and compassion. I would like to name you an honorary member of the Inuzuka clan. Naruko's eyes sparkled with joy. Because your companions are wolves instead of dogs, Sume continued, you may create your own branch of the clan one day. You'll live with us at the compound, and you can design a symbol that represents your unique path. Naruko beamed. Really? Thank you so much. She then glanced at the forest. It's a little chilly. Could we continue talking by the fire? I'd also like to help give the mother wolf a respectful farewell. Sume nodded kindly. Of course. A gentle farewell. Later that evening, the clan gathered quietly. There was no fear, only respect and remembrance. Soft drums played a slow, steady rhythm, like a calm heartbeat. The sky grew cloudy, and a gentle rain began to fall, as if the world itself wished to share in the farewell. Hana, Sume's young daughter, approached Naruko with a shy smile. "I made something for you," she said, handing her a small necklace woven with care. "It's to help you remember her." Naruko accepted it with both hands, her expression full of gratitude. "Thank you, Hana. I'll treasure this always. It reminds me that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who you protect and care for." They shared a warm hug, and the wolf pups sat close, tails wagging softly. As the drums faded, the clan stood together in silence, honoring the cycle of life, the strength of community, and the promise of a kinder future. Naruko looked around at her new home and smiled. She had found her pack. Naruko in the light of farewell. The voices rose together, soft at first, then blending into a gentle chant that slowly faded into something almost like a lullaby. The sound mixed with the distant calls of dogs and wolves, not in anger or fear, but in remembrance, voices honoring a beloved mother and friend who had guided them with care. When the chanting finally ended, the drums continued their steady rhythm. Da-dum. 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 Then, at last, silence. The quiet was so deep that no one dared speak. Even the sky seemed to understand, as soft rain fell like quiet tears for someone dearly missed. Naruko stepped forward, holding a small torch made to give light, not harm. She gently placed it near the carefully stacked wood at Munfurawa's resting place. One by one, warm lights began to glow, brightening the night like stars coming to life. The glow shimmered white and gold, filling the space with peace rather than heat. Sume broke the silence with a calm, steady voice. "A bright light reflects a strong and kind spirit," she said. "It shows a soul ready to walk among the heavens, welcomed by warmth and joy." With that, the clan slowly made their way home, comforted by tradition and togetherness. Naruko remained behind. She watched quietly as the lights continued to shine, thinking of Munfurawa, the one who had believed in her so completely. The pups stayed close, their eyes full of feeling, but instead of fear, they looked to Naruko with trust. She knelt beside them, offering a gentle smile and a promise of protection and care. From that moment on, she was no longer alone, and neither were they. From the doorway of her home, Hana observed the scene. She saw Naruko standing strong and kind, surrounded by her new companions. Behind Hana, Sume comforted her youngest child, Kiba, who still clung to her side. As Tsume glanced toward the doorway, she noticed Hana's expression, sad, yet peaceful, and quietly hopeful. One day, Sume thought, that feeling would grow into something warm and lasting. When that day comes, she reflected, "Naruko, please always look after my little girl." After a while, Naruko turned away from the glowing lights. With the pups padding along beside her, she walked toward Sume's home. There, they would talk, not of loss, but of belonging, of becoming part of something bigger, and of a family that had just grown a little larger. And under the calm night sky, a new chapter quietly began. A new morning, a new beginning. The next morning, the village was already awake and bustling with its usual energy. Shops opened their doors, shinobi greeted one another, and the sunlight warmed the streets of Konoha. Sume Inuzuka walked confidently toward the Hokage Tower, leading Naruko beside her. Naruko smiled softly as Kuromaru patted at her side, followed closely by 4 large, quiet wolf pups. The pups stayed alert and protective, and when a few villagers stared a little too long, the pups gave low warning sounds, not threatening, just firm. The villagers quickly looked away and continued on their way. Naruko held her head high. She felt nervous, but also hopeful. When they reached the Hokage Tower, Sume spoke to a nearby attendant. With a knowing grin, she said, "Is the Hokage busy?" The attendant chuckled. "He's probably reading that questionable book again and letting others handle the paperwork, unless it's important." Sume waved a hand. "Oh, this is important." They were allowed through without delay. Sume knocked once on the office door. "Come in," came a warm voice. Sume and Naruko entered, their animal partners following politely. Naruko smiled brightly. "Good morning, Lord Hokage," Sume said. "Good morning, Gigi," Naruko added cheerfully. Sume didn't correct her. She was used to it. The Hokage smiled kindly. "Good morning to you both. What brings you here today?" Naruko explained what had happened the day before, speaking honestly but gently. She focused on how she had helped, how the wolves had trusted her, and how she felt a sense of belonging. Sume continued the explanation, describing what had happened afterward at the Inuzuka compound. The Hokage listened carefully and nodded. I see. But I sense there's more. Both Naruko and Sume nodded. Sume spoke clearly. I'd like to offer Naruko the chance to form her own clan, one protected within the Inuzuka lands. It would have a council seat, but she wouldn't be an Inuzuka by name. She would be safe, guided, and supported until she comes of age. Any future family choices would always be her own. The Hokage smiled approvingly. That sounds wise. He turned to Naruko. So, all that remains is a name and a symbol. Naruko's eyes lit up. I thought about it all night. She stood a little taller. Wolves are said to be children of the sun and guardians of nature. They protect their families and stand strong together. I thought the symbol could show balance, light and shadow, surrounded by warm flame, with the kanji for wolf in the center. The room fell quiet. Sume stared in amazement. The Hokage blinked, then laughed softly. That's a wonderful idea. As he began filling out the paperwork, he said, this clan will be officially recognized, with Sume acting as guardian until Naruko turns 16. Naruko carefully signed her name, proud and excited. One last thing, the Hokage said. What will the clan be called? Naruko tapped her chin thoughtfully. The Hurring Okami clan, the Howling Wolf clan. Perfect, the Hokage said warmly. With everything complete, Sume and Naruko wished him a good day and left the tower together. A fresh start. On the walk back, Naruko looked up at Sume. Can we go shopping? I need clothes that feel more like me. Sume laughed. Alright, but you're brave for stepping into that store. Naruko chose an outfit that was comfortable, practical, and completely modest. There is a strict rule that there is no nudity anywhere in this story. She wore a fitted black shirt, a warm jacket with soft faux fur trim, and sturdy white shinobi pants tucked into sandals. The colors reminded her of her wolf pups, and she felt confident without looking wild or frightening. Back at the Inuzuka compound, Naruko asked if she could learn how to care for the pups. Sume smiled apologetically. Not today. Clan business calls. But Hana can help you. A few minutes later, Hana came downstairs, cheerful and welcoming. She showed Naruko her new home, a cozy guest house behind the main building, fully furnished and warm. The afternoon passed quickly. Hana taught Naruko what the pups like to eat, how to keep them healthy and happy, and how to understand their moods. They played together, laughed, and shared stories. By the end of the day, they were good friends. Neither noticed the shy smiles they shared. The council meeting. The next day, Sume entered the council chamber with Kuromaru beside her. Clan leaders were already seated, including the Aburame and Nara heads. The Hokage soon arrived with his advisors, and the meeting began. The situation from yesterday has been resolved, the Hokage announced calmly. There is nothing further to discuss. Sume nodded in agreement, wearing a composed expression. The Hokage continued, Naruko Uzumaki was nearby and helped ensure everything was handled properly. Because of her actions, she has been granted honorary status and now leads a newly formed clan under Inuzuka protection. This decision is final. The Shinobi Council members were impressed by Naruko's courage and kindness. The civilians, meanwhile, understood clearly that she was protected and respected. The rest of the meeting focused on village matters, supplies, training schedules, and upcoming festivals. When it finally ended, Sume felt satisfied. Naruko was safe. She belonged. And her future had truly begun. At the Inuzuka compound. Naruko woke up later than usual and blinked sleepily at the ceiling. When she looked down, she smiled in surprise. Curled up beside her were her 4 surrogate children, all snuggled together and softly giggling as they noticed she was awake. Naruko laughed quietly so she wouldn't startle them. Carefully, she slipped out of bed and headed to the small kitchen of her cozy 1-bedroom home. Soon, the cheerful sounds of breakfast being prepared filled the air. As the food began to smell delicious, the 4 pups bounded into the kitchen, their excitement impossible to miss. They ate together, chatting happily, and once breakfast was finished, they stepped outside into the fresh morning air. Waiting for them was an averagely large female wolfhound with a confident stance and kind eyes. Kami Sora gave them a playful, wolfish grin. Ah, good, you're awake, Kami Sora said warmly. Sume-sama said that every second day, until you graduate from the academy, your pups will spend the day training and learning with me, Doroashi, Hikari Kiba, and sometimes Kuromaru-sama, along with the other pups their age. Naruko smiled and knelt down so she was at eye level with the children. You guys be good and learn lots from Kamisora-chan, okay? She has plenty to teach you. They nodded eagerly, each giving Naruko an affectionate lick on the cheek before racing off with Kamisora, who set a comfortable pace for them to follow. Once they were gone, Naruko headed deeper into the Inuzuka compound. She spotted Hana tending to a small herb garden, carefully brushing dirt from her hands. Naruko walked over and spoke gently. Hey, Hana-chan. Do you need any help? Hana jumped slightly, having been lost in thought, then laughed and shook her head. Nope, I'm just finishing up. Hey, where are Senko-chan, Miss Yujuashi-chan, Odorikage-kun, and Shomiai-kun? Naruko smiled. Sume-chan told Kamisora that she and the other wolfhounds would train them every second day until they graduate from the academy. Hana's face brightened. Oh, okay. So, what do you want to do? Naruko thought for a moment, then spoke with excitement. Since I'm joining the academy in November, I've been thinking about what kind of shinobi I want to be. I decided I want to be a medical ninja, like Tsunade-sama from the Sannin that Gigi always tells me stories about. Hana listened closely as Naruko continued. I was wondering if you'd come with me to see Hokage Ohasan. Maybe he can give me advice, and if we ask nicely, he might tell us a story too. Hana nodded eagerly. That sounds like fun. Let's go. Together, they hurried toward the Hokage Tower. When they arrived, the secretary, a kind woman from the Yamanaka clan named Nori, smiled warmly at them. Hello, Naruko-chan. And you must be Hana, Sume-sama's eldest. How are you two today? Naruko waved cheerfully. Hi, Nori-chan. Is the old man busy? Nori chuckled. He'll be back in a few minutes. You can wait inside. I'm sure Inu and Tora will be happy to see you. That was all Naruko needed to hear. She grabbed Hana's hand, rushed to the door, and pushed it open with enthusiasm. Inu-chan. Tora-chan. I want you to meet a friend of mine. Outside, a few other Onbu nearby stared in disbelief. Nori giggled softly as raised voices echoed from inside, followed by playful complaining. Moments later, there was a familiar sound as the Hokage arrived. Inside the office, Hana was giggling while Naruko sat happily on Inu's shoulders, chatting away. Tora stood nearby, shaking his head with dramatic confusion. Naruko hopped down as the Hokage cleared his throat. Inu and Tora returned to their places, trying very hard to look professional. I do wish you wouldn't tease my Onbu so much, the Hokage said, though his smile gave him away. Naruko grinned. It's too fun to stop, Gigi. But I came to ask you something. I want to be a medical ninja, and I was hoping you had something I could learn from. Also, we came for one of your amazing stories. The Hokage looked thoughtful. Being a medic takes dedication and excellent chakra control. Naruko stood a little straighter. I'll work harder than anyone. I promise. The Hokage laughed kindly and soon finished his work. He guided the two girls to the comfortable chairs in his office. I'll tell you a story, he said, and afterward, Naruko, I'll give you a scroll full of chakra control exercises. For a long while, the Hokage told them stories from his youth, and both girls listened with wide eyes and whispered comments about their favorite parts. When the story ended, the Hokage retrieved a carefully prepared scroll. This contains chakra exercises, ordered from simplest to most advanced. Work through them slowly, one at a time. When you show responsibility and effort, I'll have more to share with you in the future. Naruko accepted the scroll respectfully. Thank you, Gigi. I promise to follow your instructions. She turned to Hana with a bright smile. Want to train together? Hana nodded enthusiastically. I'd love to. Laughing happily, the two of them thanked the Hokage and ran off toward the Inuzuka compound, ready to begin a new chapter filled with learning, teamwork, and dreams for the future. A wholesome reimagining, Naruko of the Inuzuka grounds. When they arrived back at the Inuzuka clan grounds, they were greeted by Tsume, who was holding young Kiba in her arms. Kiba raised an eyebrow at them with a very familiar look that clearly said, "Where have you been?" Hana laughed softly and spoke up right away. Hey, Ka-chan. We were with the Hokage. He was telling us stories about when he was a Genin under the second Hokage, and he gave Naruko a scroll with chakra control exercises. He also asked if I wanted to learn alongside her. Tsume smiled warmly. Well then, there's no reason to wait. Let's begin right away. They headed toward the backgrounds of the clan compound. Calling it a backyard hardly did it justice. It stretched wide like a small nature park, filled with clusters of trees, smooth rock formations, and gentle streams winding through the grass. At the edge of a group of trees, Sume gently set Kiba down and plucked 4 leaves from a nearby branch. She handed one to each of them. "Naruko," Sume said kindly, "open your scroll. Your first exercise should be leaf balancing. Sit down, focus your chakra gently, and try to keep the leaf resting on your forehead. The goal is calm control, not force." She demonstrated first, smiling as the leaf stayed in place without effort. Naruko tried eagerly. The first time, she used too much chakra and the leaf fluttered away. The second time, it slid down her face. Taking a deep breath, she tried again, slowly and carefully. After 10 minutes of quiet focus, she lifted her hand away. The leaf stayed. Naruko beamed and continued concentrating, managing to keep it there for 5 whole minutes. Hana, meanwhile, was trying her best but could only manage about 1 minute before her leaf fell. Sume nodded approvingly. "When you can hold it for 30 minutes or more, you'll be ready for the next exercise." 2 weeks later. Every morning, the children practiced together. By the end of 2 weeks, Naruko could balance her leaf for 35 minutes, Hana for 31, and Kiba, who had just begun learning chakra flow, managed 12 minutes, which was impressive for his age. "Well done," Sume said proudly. "Kiba, keep practicing leaf balancing until you reach 30 minutes, okay?" Kiba nodded enthusiastically and ran off with his new puppy, Akamaru. Sume then turned to Hana and Naruko. "Next is tree walking. Guide your chakra gently to your feet and walk upward. Balance is everything. When you can move up and down 10 times with ease, you'll know you've succeeded." Later that day. That evening, Naruko sat on the floor of her cozy little house, surrounded by her wolf pups. She was 5 years old and excited, her birthday was coming up soon. With a scroll and pen in hand, she quietly wrote down ideas for teamwork exercises she could practice with her companions. These weren't for fighting, but for coordination and fun. One idea was Wolf's Song, where Naruko and her pups would focus their chakra together to create a strong, echoing sound that carried across long distances, perfect for signaling or celebrations. Another was Pack Play, where they practiced moving in perfect harmony, copying each other's movements like a playful dance. Naruko looked up at Miss Yuzuashi and smiled. "Do you have any ideas, girl?" Miss Yuzuashi barked softly, making Naruko laugh. Illusion practice? That's clever." The pups wagged their tails happily, and Naruko made a note to look for scrolls about gentle illusion techniques, useful for games, learning, and creativity. They stayed together late into the night, sharing warmth and ideas. Naruko's birthday. On the morning of her birthday, Naruko woke up to Senko happily licking her cheek. She giggled and gently pushed her away before heading into the living room. There, she found the Hokage, Sume, Hana, and Kiba waiting for her, all smiling. "Good morning, Naruko," the Hokage said kindly. "I'm sorry to wake you early, but I wanted to give you this before I go." He handed her a scroll and wished her a happy birthday before leaving. Hana hugged Naruko tightly. "Happy birthday." Kiba added his own cheerful greeting, and Sume hugged her next before handing her another scroll. "Tonight, we'll have a big clan celebration," Sume said. "But for now, let's see what you received." Naruko opened the Hokage's scroll first. Inside was a beginner chakra exercise called Hidden Sparkles, a fun technique that allowed the user to create small, harmless bursts of light from their breath, perfect for performances and practice. At the bottom was a note, a gift from Jirai. Using a small bit of chakra, Naruko activated a seal that released a practice sword made entirely for training, smooth, safe, and never meant to hurt anyone. It came with a beautifully carved wooden sheath decorated with a blooming cherry tree. Sume's scroll contained basic Inuzuka training techniques focused on teamwork with animal partners, safe, playful, and designed to build trust and coordination. Naruko looked up in amazement. "Are you sure it's okay for me to learn these?" Sume smiled. "Your family. That's what matters." The rest of the day was filled with laughter, games, and celebration as the entire clan gathered to wish Naruko a happy birthday. Ages. Naruko, 6. Kiba, 5. Hana, 8. Sume, 36. Naruko of the Leaf, Academy Beginnings. Rule of this story: there is no nudity anywhere, no graphic harm, no blood, and no inappropriate language or themes of any kind. 2 months later. The sun had barely risen when Naruko Uzumaki opened her eyes, already smiling. It was her first day at the Ninja Academy. She moved through her usual morning routine with practiced ease, washing up, tying her headband, and checking on her 4 fluffy wolf pups, who padded happily around her room. They wagged their tails as she laughed softly and reminded them to behave. Dressed in her familiar bright outfit, Naruko stepped outside and paused for a moment, thinking about how much had changed in just a few months. Together with Kiba Inuzuka, she had begun learning the academy's basic techniques. She could transform herself confidently, switch places with focus, and create several simple clones, never fewer than 10, which made her quietly proud. She had even reached the beginner level of walking on water, something that had taken real concentration. She enjoyed practicing throwing tools too, discovering she had a natural sense for aim and timing. More importantly, she had gained something far better than skills: friendship. Even though Kiba was a year older, they got along wonderfully. Naruko had also grown close to Hana, who often encouraged her, and she deeply respected Tsume, whom she quietly thought of as a mother figure. With her wolf pups trotting beside her, Naruko reached the meeting spot, where Kiba was already waiting with his mother. Hana couldn't come this time due to a special training trip, but she had wished them both luck. The Academy. At the Academy, Naruko scanned the class roster with excitement. She and Kiba were placed alongside many other students from well-known families: Nara, Aburame, Akimichi, Yamanaka, Hyuga, and Uchiha, as well as students from non-clan families like Haruno. Inside the classroom, Naruko chose a seat in the middle, next to the quiet Aburame heir, Shino. Their teacher, Iruka-sensei, greeted the class warmly. Some students looked uncertain when they noticed Naruko's wolf pups resting calmly at her feet. One assistant instructor attempted to surprise her with an illusion-based test, but one of the pups, Senko, gently disrupted it. The wolves let out low warning sounds, not threatening, just protective, until Iruka calmly restored order. Iruka then explained the Academy's learning plan. Years 1 to 2. Reading, writing, and mathematics. Years 3 to 4. History of the villages and leaders. Basic science and geography. Continued mathematics. Years 5 to 8. Ninja skills fundamentals. Chakra theory and elements. Calligraphy and basic sealing. Textbooks were handed out, and learning officially began. Growth through learning. Over the first 2 years, Naruko surprised everyone by consistently ranking at the top of the class. Kiba performed solidly in the middle, while students like Shino, Shikamaru, Sakura, and Sasuke often matched Naruko in written studies. During the 3rd and 4th years, Naruko became especially fascinated by lessons about the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and the legendary healer Tsunade Senju. Her curiosity grew stronger each day. Eventually, she decided to seek answers directly. The Hokage's office. Naruko waved cheerfully to Nori outside the office before opening the door. Inside, the elderly Hokage sat comfortably, reading a scroll. "Hey, old man," Naruko said with a grin, the only person allowed to say that. The Hokage chuckled. "Naruko-chan, what question brings you here today?" Naruko sat across from him, her wolf pup settling peacefully beside her. "In class, we learned about the first Hokage and Lady Tsunade," she explained thoughtfully. "They could heal themselves incredibly fast. I figured out that Tsunade used a special seal, but I don't understand how it really works. And I was wondering, is there a way to train for healing like that? Also, how do you know if your chakra is dense instead of just large?" The Hokage smiled, clearly pleased by her curiosity. "Those are very good questions," he said kindly. Hashirama-sensei had chakra filled with vitality and excellent control, which allowed his body to recover naturally. Tsunade refined her abilities through careful study and created a powerful seal that stored chakra over time. Healing like that isn't about rushing, it's about patience, balance, and understanding yourself. Naruko leaned forward, eyes bright. "So, if I focus on control and learning properly, I could become a healer too?" The Hokage nodded warmly. "With dedication and kindness, you can become whatever you choose." Naruko smiled, feeling more determined than ever. Hiruzen listened carefully before speaking again. His voice was calm and kind, the way it always was when he wanted someone to feel at ease. "For the sealing technique," he said gently, "you would need to speak with Tsunade. It is a skill passed down through her family. She has been away from the village for quite some time, but perhaps one day she will return." Naruko nodded, absorbing every word. "As for your chakra," Hiruzen continued with a thoughtful smile. The first Hokage's chakra was said to be so strong and steady that nature itself seemed to respond to it. We can test yours safely, if you would like. Naruko's face flickered through several emotions, curiosity, excitement, and just a hint of doubt, before she nodded eagerly. Hiruzen gestured toward the center of the room. Stand there, Naruko. Focus on shaping your chakra and hold it for as long as you comfortably can. Naruko did as she was told. She stood tall, brought her hands together in a simple hand sign, and closed her eyes. Slowly, she focused inward, calmly guiding her chakra the way Iruka had taught her. At first, nothing seemed to happen. But after several minutes, a soft pink glow shimmered gently around her. The air felt warm and peaceful, like sunlight on a spring morning. A little while later, the wooden floor beneath her feet made a quiet creaking sound, as if responding to her presence. Tiny splinters lifted slightly, not breaking, just reacting. Naruko remained focused, calm and steady. Hiruzen watched in amazement. The room felt comforting yet powerful, as though Naruko's chakra carried encouragement with it. Even the small wolf pups lounging on the couches seemed relaxed and content. After a moment longer, Hiruzen raised his voice kindly. That's enough for now, Naruko. She opened her eyes and gently released her chakra. The glow faded, and everything settled back into place. Her eyes widened. So, it's really dense, she said, smiling softly. If that's true, how do I learn the first Hokage's healing ability? I want to do it the right way. Hiruzen considered this carefully. Then his eyes brightened. There is a safer method, he said. Place your hand over your heart and focus your chakra on warmth and renewal, not injury. Naruko followed his instructions. She focused calmly, guiding her chakra with care. A soft warmth spread through her hand and chest, like a comforting hug. The glow brightened briefly, then faded. Naruko blinked. That felt natural. Hiruzen smiled proudly. It appears you have a rare talent for healing chakra, Naruko. As they talked afterward, Hiruzen asked about her training. Naruko eagerly shared her progress. Well, Gigi, she said happily, my hidden needle technique is very accurate now, even on moving targets. My beast-style clone techniques are improving too. I can shift between forms more smoothly, and my senses get sharper when I do. She glanced fondly at the wolf pups. They help me practice teamwork. I'm learning how to move as one without bumping into each other. Hiruzen chuckled. I've also been creating new techniques, Naruko continued. Some help with speed, others with coordination. I even made a mist technique that feels tingly, but not harmful. I still need to improve control, though. Hiruzen leaned back in his chair, thoughtful and impressed. Naruko wasn't just strong, she was curious, careful, and kind. It seems, he said warmly, that you are growing into a wonderful shinobi. Naruko beamed, standing a little taller, ready to keep learning. When Naruko finished speaking, she glanced at the clock and smiled. Sorry, Gigi, but I have to run, she said cheerfully. Thank you for answering my questions. I'll see you soon. Before the elder could respond, Naruko moved swiftly away, her motion so smooth it looked like a gentle breeze passing through the room. The elderly man leaned back in his chair, quietly thinking over everything he had heard. Then he began to laugh warmly, tapping his desk as a realization clicked into place. So she can make several solid copies of herself and doesn't even realize how special that is, he said fondly. I know exactly which scroll I'll give her for her birthday. And I think I'll include the mystical palm technique too. She'll make good use of it. Dash. Naruko raced across the rooftops with her wolf companions running happily beside her. She was eager to return to the Inuzuka compound for dinner. Tsume had invited her personally, and while she would never say it out loud, Naruko felt truly welcome there, almost like family. Naruko remembered the last time she and Kiba had arrived late for dinner. The memory made her laugh softly, but she quickened her pace anyway. She promised herself she would never be late again. As soon as she reached the front door, she slipped off her sandals neatly and hurried inside, sliding into her seat just as Tsume finished serving the meal. Tsume chuckled at the sight. Naruko was breathing fast, clearly having rushed a long way, but her face was glowing with relief and happiness. Kiba laughed openly, amused by her dramatic entrance, while Hana watched quietly with a thoughtful smile, clearly impressed by Naruko's determination. 3 years later. Over the next 3 years at the academy, Naruko blossomed into a remarkable student. Her skill with ninjutsu and medical techniques amazed her teacher, Iruka. She learned quickly and practiced carefully, always focused on helping others. One day, she calmly demonstrated a perfectly controlled mystical palm technique, followed by precise chakra shaping. Inuzuka nearly dropped his notes in surprise. Naruko's combat style was unique. Instead of force, she relied on agility, quick thinking, and teamwork with her wolves, who protected her sides and moved in perfect harmony with her. She also showed a strong talent for illusion techniques and sealing arts, both of which required patience and focus, qualities she had worked hard to develop. Her chakra control became nearly flawless through steady practice. Naruko consistently ranked at the top of her class, with Sasuke close behind. Kiba did well too, comfortably holding the middle. Over the years, Naruko also formed strong friendships with Shikamaru, Shino, and Choji, enjoying quiet conversations and shared lunches. While Naruko didn't always agree with Sasuke's attitude, she chose not to dwell on it. She also felt overwhelmed by the constant excitement some classmates showed toward him, preferring calm and respectful friendships instead. Hinata seemed shy but kind, and Naruko found her interesting in a gentle way, especially knowing her family valued discipline and fairness. Naruko sat in her usual seat at the academy, surrounded by her now fully grown wolf companions. Otorikage stood proudly at her side, with Shomi-ai and the others resting calmly nearby. Naruko herself had grown taller, wearing a long-sleeved black shirt over protective mesh armor, gray pants, and her Leaf Village headband tied neatly across her forehead. Kiba sat on one side of her, Shino on the other, both quietly chatting. Suddenly, the classroom door opened as Sakura and Ino arrived at the same time. "I think I made it first," Sakura said, laughing as she caught her breath. Ino smiled back playfully. "It looks like we arrived together." They both noticed Sasuke and waved excitedly before heading to their seats. Soon, the two girls were whispering and giggling, trying to outdo each other with cheerful enthusiasm, while Sasuke stared straight ahead, clearly focused on the lesson. Naruko watched the scene with a small smile before turning her attention back to her notes, her wolves resting peacefully at her side. She felt ready for whatever came next. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, the Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sat calmly before the crystal ball, observing the graduating class as the prospective Jonin sensei watched alongside him. Asuma Sarutobi leaned forward with interest, while Kurenai Yuhi and Kakashi Hatake observed quietly. "So," Asuma said thoughtfully, "the one with the wolves, Naruto Okami. Is that her?" Hiruzen smiled and nodded. "Yes. That is her." Kakashi let out a soft sigh as he watched the image shimmer. Naruto Okami. Or rather, Naruko, he thought with quiet curiosity. Back in the classroom. Naruko sat near the window, absent-mindedly scratching Miss Yutoashi gently between the ears. The young wolf's tail swayed happily. Suddenly, Otorikage and Shomi-ai lifted their heads, ears twitching. Senko patted closer to Naruko, sensing her attention shift. Naruko glanced up and noticed Sasuke Uchiha looking her way. "What do you want, Uchiha?" she asked lightly, her tone calm but confident. Sasuke crossed his arms. "That's sort of yours. It looks important." Naruko smiled softly and rested her hand on the hilt. "It is important, to me. It's called a sakobatu. It's designed to protect, not harm. Just like I try to do." The wolves sat tall beside her, watchful but relaxed. Sasuke paused, then simply turned back to his seat with a quiet huff. The Hokage observes. Hiruzen chuckled gently as he watched the scene. "Team 7 is certainly going to be interesting," he said warmly. "Naruko has a way of standing out, without meaning to." Team assignments. Iruka-sensei soon stood at the front of the room and announced the teams. Naruko listened carefully when she heard. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruko Okami. Naruko blinked once, then shrugged lightly. "Guess this will be interesting," she thought. After the sensei arrived to collect their teams, Team 7 was left waiting. And waiting. And waiting. Otorikage leaned closer to Naruko and murmured quietly, "Naruko-kun, your sensei is very relaxed about time." Naruko laughed softly. "Patience, Otoru. Good things take time." Meeting Kakashi. At last, the door slid open, revealing a silver-haired Jonin wearing a mask and a lazy smile. Sakura stood up. "You're late." Kakashi scratched the back of his head. "Sorry, I got lost on the path of life." Naruko and her wolves exchanged amused looks. "Let's head to the roof," Kakashi said, vanishing in a blur. Naruko followed easily, her wolves appearing beside her moments later. Dash. On the rooftop. Kakashi looked pleasantly surprised. Still quick, Naruko. She smiled. Hello, Inu-chan. Long time no see. Miss Ujiwashi trotted over and sniffed Kakashi curiously. You smell like dogs. And also like books. Kakashi laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. They soon began introductions. Naruko spoke clearly and proudly. My name is Naruko Okami. I like medical jutsu, chakra theory, fuinjutsu, and spending time with my wolves. My dream is to become a great medic and help people, maybe even surpass Tsunade-sama someday. Kakashi smiled warmly. Sakura introduced herself with enthusiasm, and Sasuke spoke briefly about becoming stronger. All right, Kakashi said. Meet tomorrow at Training Ground 7 at 7 in the morning. As Kakashi left, Naruko turned to her teammates. Eat breakfast, she said kindly. And come ready to work together. Dash. That evening. At home, Naruko sat at the table with Hana and Kiba. The atmosphere was warm and lively. Kiba talked excitedly about his team, while Naruko shared her thoughts. I think my team will work well, she said thoughtfully. If we trust each other. Hana smiled proudly. That sounds like you, Naruko. Outside, the wolves played peacefully beneath the evening sky, tails wagging as the future quietly unfolded, full of learning, friendship, and hope. The next day. The morning sun stretched across the training grounds as Naruko sat on the grass with her teammates, Sakura and Sasuke. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. Then a lot more minutes. Nearly 2 hours went by. Strangely, no one complained. Sakura eventually broke the silence and asked, Naruko, do you know who our sensei is? Naruko scratched the back of her head, thinking for a moment. Yeah. He used to work as the Hokage's personal guard. From what I've heard, if the mission isn't super important, he always shows up late. Sasuke raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Naruko glanced at both of them and noticed something else. You two didn't eat this morning, did you? Before either could answer, she handed each of them a neatly packed bento box. Sakura smiled and thanked her right away. Sasuke didn't say anything, but Naruko could tell he appreciated it. We might as well rest or warm up, Naruko added. No point wasting energy. In the end, all three decided on a short nap. While Sakura and Sasuke slept, Naruko quietly formed a few hand signs. Two gentle wolf companions, Shomiai and Misuto, padded silently into the forest on the left. A moment later, Otoru and Senko slipped off in the opposite direction. Naruko leaned back again, closed her eyes, and created several shadow copies. They scattered quietly, setting up playful obstacles and clever distractions, nothing dangerous, just tricky enough to surprise someone. About 10 minutes later, the copies vanished one by one, and Naruko sat up just in time to see a silver-haired ninja appear. Kakashi had arrived. Naruko gently woke Sakura and Sasuke so they could hear the instructions. Kakashi explained the bell test calmly and placed a small clock on a post. You have until midday, he said. The test begins when I say start. He paused for dramatic effect. And begin. All three genin disappeared into the forest. Sakura hid among the bushes, Sasuke took to the trees, and Naruko blended perfectly into her surroundings using a concealment technique that made her seem like part of the forest itself. Kakashi stood quietly, observing. He could sense Sakura and Sasuke easily, but Naruko was harder to find. Then he noticed something else. Soft footsteps. Calm breathing. Watchful eyes all around. She planned ahead, he thought with a smile. And those lunchboxes. She figured it out. Kakashi created a few practice clones to challenge Sakura and Sasuke. They struggled at first, but just as they needed help, Naruko's shadow copies appeared, guiding them and helping them recover their confidence. Naruko then stepped out into the clearing and faced Kakashi directly. You know, Sensei, she said kindly, this test isn't really about winning. I'm trained to support my team, not rush ahead alone. That's part of the rules Lady Tsunade teaches. Kakashi tilted his head. Oh? And what rules are those? Naruko smiled and explained clearly and respectfully, sharing the guiding principles of a medical ninja, always helping teammates, staying aware, and valuing teamwork above all else. She finished by saying, if this test is about teamwork, then I think we've already passed. Kakashi stood quietly for a moment, then laughed. You're right, he said. You work together, shared food, shared information, and supported one another. That's exactly what I wanted to see. He paused, then added, but how about a friendly spar? Just to see how you move. Naruko nodded and took a relaxed stance, ready to dodge and adapt. Kakashi moved quickly, but carefully, and Naruko focused on avoiding rather than striking. She used clever techniques meant to distract and surprise rather than overpower. Eventually, Kakashi gently ended the spar with a harmless illusion technique. He ruffled Naruko's hair. You did very well. You think ahead, and you care about others. That makes a strong ninja. Afterward, they regrouped near the memorial stone. Kakashi told Sakura and Sasuke that they had all passed, thanks to their teamwork. He explained that the stone honored heroes who protected the village by working together and believing in one another. Naruko stepped closer, quietly reading the names. Then she saw one that made her heart pause. Kushina Uzumaki. The date matched her own birthday. Naruko knelt down, feeling a warmth she didn't fully understand yet, but also a sense of connection and pride. For the first time in many years, she allowed herself to feel her emotions fully. Not sadness, but belonging. And hope. With the Hokage. After getting the reports from all the Jonin, Sume Inuzuka walked into the Hokage's office and sat down. Hiruzen, usually calm, looked a little uneasy today. Deep down, he was nervous. Today was the day he had to tell Naruko about the nine-tailed fox sealed inside her. She isn't here, which is unusual, Hiruzen said. Hold on, I'll use my crystal ball to see where she is. Outside, Hiruzen's expression seemed calm, but inside, he was almost panicking. When the image appeared in the crystal ball, Naruko was kneeling in front of the memorial stone, tears quietly falling. Sume glanced at Hiruzen and whispered, she really takes after her parents. Smart and strong. She took a deep breath. But maybe this will make it easier to explain. Sume looked at Naruko's small figure and thought, Kushina, Minato. Give her strength. You would be so proud. She is everything you hoped she'd be. The two of them vanished in a shimmer of light and appeared by the memorial stone. Kakashi, who had forgotten to tell someone something earlier, arrived just in time to see Naruko kneeling there, her head bowed. Remembering whose name was on the stone, he paled slightly and hurried over to join them. At the memorial stone, the Inuzuka wolves, sensing their partner was upset, nuzzled her gently and tried to comfort her in their own playful ways. Sume's maternal instincts kicked in, and she pulled Naruko into a warm hug. The Hokage will explain everything, she said softly. Naruko calmed slightly and looked up at Hiruzen. Gigi. Is she really? Hiruzen nodded. Yes, Naruko. She was your mother. During her pregnancy, when she first knew she was going to have you, she was the happiest I had ever seen her. She loved you even before you were born, just like you were like a granddaughter to me. I was heartbroken when she passed, but there is something important you need to know. You know about the seal on your stomach, don't you? Naruko nodded. Can you tell me what you know about it? Hiruzen asked. Taking a deep breath, Naruko explained, the seal on my stomach is called the Shiki Fujin, or the dead demon-consuming seal. It's used to hold something very powerful inside me. There's also the Haki no Fun Shiki, which keeps that power contained. Half of the seal converts the energy, and the other half uses my chakra to stay active. So, the seal contains the Kyubi no Kitsune, which makes me a Jinchuriki. But I know how the seal works, so I won't ever think I'm a demon. I do have one question, though. Hiruzen smiled gently, relieved. Thank the Kamigami, she's clever just like her parents. And what is your question, Naruko? Now that I know I'm a Jinchuriki. Why me? Hiruzen's expression softened. According to the Yondaime, a newborn was needed because their chakra is still flexible and can grow steadily. That's why you, born that day, were chosen. It wasn't about being special, it was about being the right person at the right time. Naruko thought for a moment and shrugged. I guess that makes sense. Now, she continued, I know my mother. Do you have any photos of her? Or something she left for me? And my father, what happened to him? Hiruzen's eyes glimmered with both sadness and warmth. I have some of her belongings in my office. But you already have something of hers, her sword, Sakabatui. She had it made for you, and she would have picked it up the day after. Everything happened. As for your father, I promised him that I'd tell you about him when you were older, after you reached Chunin or Jonin rank, or when you turned 18. Naruko nodded, hugging her sword tightly. Then this is her way of still protecting me, even from the afterlife, she said with a small smile. Later that evening. At home, Naruko placed 3 small pictures of her mother on the mantel above the fireplace. She sat down with a warm blanket, reading a medical scroll, while one of her shadow clones flipped through a sealing scroll in a book authored by someone with the initials MN. Even with so much to learn about herself and her past, Naruko felt a quiet strength. She knew she had the love of those who came before her, and that she could face anything, with courage, curiosity, and heart. Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with more. Thank you for your support. Warm regards. 6 Path Weeb.